Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're putting on our proverbial boots, you could say. We're heading into the wilderness. We're going to hunt for one of nature's most prized and, well, let's be honest, most mysterious ingredients, the morel mushroom.
They really are sort of the celebrity of the fungi world, aren't they? That rich, earthy flavor,
Yeah.
it just makes them intensely sought after.
Right.
But they remain notoriously elusive. If you want to find them, you can't just wander around hoping. You really need a strategy.
And that's exactly our mission today on this deep dive. We're trying to distill the actionable insights from our research, take some of the guesswork out of foraging.
Yeah.
But, beyond just finding them, there's a reason this activity is really taking off, isn't there?
Oh, definitely. Foraging is described as this tremendous activity. It combines that sort of ancient art of the hunt, with exercise, and maybe crucially, time disconnected. Time away from screens, from the digital world.
Yeah, that disconnect is huge.
It really is. It's an entire experience, whether your basket is overflowing or not.
Right.
And for anyone planning to hunt them this spring, you definitely need to understand the seasonality.
Okay.
Morels, generally, they start showing up anywhere from March through June. But that specific window, it shifts quite dramatically depending on your exact geographical location.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's get specific about the where. You mentioned strategy.
Yeah.
The primary rule for success, the sort of foundation, seems to be knowing your trees.
Absolutely. Spot on.
You're looking for a very specific botanical neighborhood, right? Where the conditions are just perfect.
That's it exactly. Wildlife biologist Joe Lacefield, he really zeroed in on 4 key hardwood trees.
Okay.
Trees that foragers should, prioritize identifying because they often host these specific symbiotic relationships that morels rely on.
Ah, okay. So which trees are we talking about?
You're looking for sycamore, hickory, ash, and elm, especially dying elms, actually.
Dying elms. Interesting. And it's not just those big forest trees, is it? I read something about fruit trees, too.
That's right. They seem to be equal opportunity fungi in that sense. They also favor fruit trees.
Oh.
So if you happen to be near an old established apple orchard, for example, that's highlighted as a prime spot to check.
An apple orchard. Okay. They seem to really love those specific root systems then.
Seems so. So, okay, we have maybe the perfect spot, a dying elm, an old apple tree.
Right.
But having the spot doesn't matter if the timing's off.
Yeah.
Or, just as importantly, if we don't look down, morels are incredibly particular about the ground they grow in.
That makes total sense. So we're moving from the canopy down to the soil itself. What are we looking for in the dirt?
Well, they absolutely crave loamy soil, that rich, balanced earth.
Yeah.
You often find it in creek bottoms. If the soil is too sandy or way too heavy with clay, you're probably out of luck.
Loamy soil, creek bottoms. That sounds like classic fertile ground. Classic mushroom territory.
It is.
But the research also mentioned a couple of high probability areas that they sound kind of counterintuitive. Gravel and ground under pine trees.
Yeah.
Wait, gravel, that seems like the total opposite of rich, loamy soil. What's the thinking there?
It's a great question. And honestly, this is where observation kind of beats assumption sometimes.
Okay.
Gravel and disturbed ground, they often create the specific drainage and maybe the mineral composition that morels, which are technically saprobic fungi, meaning they feed on decaying matter, thrive in.
Drainage and minerals. Got it.
Yeah.
And the pines.
Right, the pines. Well, while they're acidic needles, that pine litter might seem hostile.
Yeah, you'd think so.
That specific biological makeup also provides somehow the necessary conditions for certain morel varieties to fruit. So these are definitely high probability areas that, a lot of foragers might just walk right past because they don't fit that textbook rich soil picture.
That distinction, that's really key. The difference between like typical rich soil and this unexpected mineral rich, well-drained soil. That's a huge takeaway.
Definitely.
Okay, so now we know the where, the trees, the specific soil types. But finding them also requires precision timing. And this brings us to what the research calls the most crucial factor, maybe the most actionable one, temperature. Specifically, soil temperature.
Soil temperature is an absolute game changer. It really is. You're looking for soil temps in the 50s Fahrenheit.
Okay, 50.
To see the first morels popping up, that kind of signals the season has begun. But the sweet spot, the perfect temperature for consistent harvesting, that's 60 degrees.
60 degrees Fahrenheit in the soil.
Yeah.
Wow. That is incredibly specific.
It is.
So if I'm out there, how do I actually use that? I mean, do I just kind of hope the weather report's close enough? Or
You don't guess, you measure. This is where you get an edge.
Right.
The key advantage here is realizing this precision kind of demands a tool. Getting your hands on a simple soil thermometer, it just takes all the guesswork out. It allows you to hit that 60-degree activation window much more accurately.
A soil thermometer. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Makes the guessing out.
Exactly.
So you've got your thermometer, you're checking the soil, waiting for it to hit 60. But that temperature needs to work together with the weather too, doesn't it? It's not just the soil temp in isolation.
Precisely. Yeah, it's a synergy. Your absolute best chance of success is usually immediately following a classic warm spring rain.
Ah, the rain. Okay.
Especially when the ambient air temperature is also hovering around 60 degrees. That combination of moisture and warmth seems to be the trigger for the fruiting process.
Gotcha.
So you're not just checking the forecast for rain, you're checking it for that perfect temperature spike right after the rain.
Right. Looking for that perfect window. Okay, so we've covered the trees, the soil, the temperature, the rain, the ideal setting. Now, let's talk about some maybe less conventional spots.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture. Morels aren't always found in these pristine, untouched woods, are they? Sometimes disruption seems to be the key.
That's actually one of the most surprising and fascinating parts of the research, I think. What might look like environmental destruction can actually lead to a boom in morels. We're talking about geographical hotspots created by specific environmental events.
Okay, what kind of disruption are we talking about here? What creates this boom?
Well, there are two main types mentioned, burn sites and logging areas.
Burn sites from wildfires.
Exactly. For people in regions prone to fire, checking online for where local wildfires happened the previous season, that can reveal potential gold mines.
Wow.
Because morels frequently pop up in those burned areas the following spring. It's quite well documented.
Okay, previous season's burns. Good tip. And logging areas.
Yeah, similarly, any wooded area that's been disturbed or maybe even destroyed by heavy equipment or logging operations, those can also be really high-yield spots.
So it's like the ultimate cycle of, I don't know, destruction and renewal kind of working together, creating the specific soil chemistry or exposure they need.
That seems to be the idea. The disturbance changes things in a way they like.
Fascinating. Okay, speaking of managing expectations, while we're on these kinds of spots, we should probably talk about size.
Yes, good point. If you're picturing this perfect uniform mushroom every time, well, think again.
Wow.
They can be incredibly diverse in size. You might find a morel that's literally as small as a thumbtack.
No way. A thumbtack.
Seriously. Or you could find one as big as a soda can. They really vary.
Okay, so they come in all shapes and sizes. That's really good to know so you don't overlook the tiny ones.
Exactly.
But thankfully, the research says one thing remains constant, the fantastic flavor.
Absolutely. That's the payoff. But before anyone gets too excited and heads out with their basket and thermometer,
Uh-oh, here comes.
haha, yeah. We absolutely need to address the most critical component of this whole process. This raises an important question. What about safety?
Safety first, always.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate truth, which the research highlights, is that many toxic mushrooms can look alarmingly similar to true morels. These are often called false morels.
Yeah, and the resemblance can be really close. So education here is just. It's non-negotiable. You absolutely must educate yourself deeply on how to spot false morels and any other poisonous lookalikes in your specific area.
Right.
You need to know exactly what a true morel looks like, the hollow stem, the pitted cap structure, and what its dangerous cousins look like before you even think about harvesting or, heaven forbid, consuming a single one. Get a good field guide. Consult local experts. Do your homework.
That is such a serious warning, and everyone listening who's interested in foraging needs to take that extremely seriously. Do your research. Be 100% sure.
110%.
Okay. Beyond the critical safety aspect, there's also the mindset, isn't there? We've laid out all these tips, the precision required, but it's still a difficult task finding morels.
It really is. The research definitely notes that even the most experienced hunters can sometimes leave empty-handed. It happens.
Right.
Some seasons are just naturally better than others. Some spots are better some years. It varies.
So that's where persistence really comes in then. The advice seems pretty simple. You just have to keep hunting, keep applying the knowledge.
That's basically it. Combine that effort with the specific knowledge we've talked about, the trees, the soil, the temperature.
So what does this all mean then? Let's tie it together for someone who wants to find their first morel this spring. What's the distilled wisdom?
Well, I think it boils down to a kind of three-pronged strategy, really. First, knowledge. Knowing those specific indicator trees, elm, ash, hickory, sycamore, and those unique soil spots Like creek bottoms, yes, but also under pines or even gravelly areas.
Okay, knowledge first.
Second, precision timing. Using that soil thermometer to nail the 60-degree soil temperature and paying attention to recent warm spring rains.
Right, timing.
And third, persistent hunting. Just keep at it. Scout new areas based on the knowledge, but always, always prioritizing safety and being absolutely sure about identification, especially regarding false morels.
Knowledge, timing, persistence, and safety. That sounds like a really clear, actionable guide. But as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just take a step back and remember the ultimate reward here.
Yes, absolutely. Because the reward isn't just the delicious meal you might get at the end of the day, though that's pretty great.
Not that true.
Whether you bring back 50 morels or 5 or even none, the real prize, according to the source material and, frankly, anecdotal experience, is the act of the hunt itself.
Yeah.
That time spent outdoors, maybe in solitude, maybe with friends or family, just experiencing what the earth creates. It's described as an intrinsically motivating, almost enlightening experience.
It really is about the discovery as much as the destination, isn't it? The process.
Exactly. And, building on that idea of discovery, maybe a final thought for you to consider. Think about the cyclical nature of those burn sites and logging areas we discussed.
Okay.
It's pretty fascinating how destruction, whether it's by fire or by machinery, can actually prime the environment in a way to create new biological life, new opportunities, specifically the fruiting of these amazing mushrooms.
Yeah, that phoenix from the ashes idea.
Right. So I'd encourage you, as you're out and about, maybe look at your own local environment. What subtle changes, what disturbances, maybe natural, maybe human-caused, might be signaling the beginning of a completely new natural cycle right in your own backyard? What might pop up next?
That's a great thought to leave people with. Look closer at the cycles around you.
Happy hunting.